What's up, Mr. Different TV? This is Concrete Zebra with Craftmaster Productions and Studio One Tutorials.com. And today we're going to be learning the most difficult and complex part of audio mixing and DAW usage. What's up, everybody? This is Concrete Zebra with Craftmaster Productions and Studio One Tutorials.com. And today we're going to be learning the most complex part of audio mixing. And the reason why we're doing this is because Mr. Different was so nice to reach out to me and put me onto his channel to show some Studio One stuff. Because some of you guys have been asking for it. And I know a lot of you guys are coming over from FL Studio and not really understanding just the environment of Studio One, and you know that's fine. I'm here to help you guys with that. And the way that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the hardest thing first, because if we get the hardest thing out of the way, everything else that we do is going to come back to it, and it's going to make a lot of sense. So let's just jump right into it. Here I have a picture of what we're going to be setting up in our mixer, and the most important part of making beats is mixing. Hands down, it is what the sound is based off of. It's how you get your track to commercial volume. It's how you create space in your track. It is the final piece of the puzzle. You can make you can have the greatest sample loop. You can choose the greatest drums. If you can't mix, nobody's gonna fuck with your beat. We can all agree on that. So the most important part of mixing is signal flow, and signal flow is something that you probably don't even know to research on YouTube. There aren't a bunch of videos about signal flow. There's a bunch of videos on how to fucking crack Nexus, but you can crack Nexus. If you don't know how to route your signal, you're not going to be able to sell a damn beat. So here's what we have. Is the way that I set my buses up is I have a drum bus where I route all of my drum plugins to. I have a band bus where I route all my VSTs to. Then I have these auxiliary channels, or as Studio One calls them, effects channels. And this is where I have a plate reverb, a hall reverb, a ping pong, and an echo. Now let's take a second and talk about this section right here. These plugins are very important because what they do is they create a space. They create an ambiance. A lot of VSTs have built-in delays and reverbs inside of them, and that's fine. But especially with where the reverb is concerned, you want to use just one or two reverbs. What a reverb is an emulation of putting a sound in a room, and the way that you want your mix to sound is you want your mix to sound like all your sounds are in one room. You don't want to have a mix that sounds like you just jumped into this big space and there's 40 fucking rooms. Everything needs to sound like it's in the same house. So that's why I only have these two reverbs, and I set those up accordingly to that goal. And that's the problem with a lot of people who are getting into audio production or who have been into it for years. They don't understand the process of knowing how you want something to sound, and then using the tools to make it sound better. A lot of people just throw plugins on stuff because plugins are supposed to make things sound better. So that thinking is what we're going to destroy, and we're going to go towards a more organized and well laid out process in our beat making and our mixing, especially in Studio One, because that is the strength of the DAW. So these buses right here are then piped into my filter bus, and the purpose of the filter bus is so I can put effects on the channel that will affect the whole of the track. So if I wanted to filter out all the highs for the Drake effect, if I wanted to put glitch, tape stop, stutter edit, looperator, a phaser, anything like that, that's all those sounds are sent to the filter bus. And then the signal from the filter bus is sent to the mix bus. The mix bus is where we put our limiters. It's where we put ozone. This is where we put our mastering plugin chain. And what is the difference between the mix bus and the master bus is that the master bus you don't fucking touch. If you want to know why you don't touch the master bus, spend $30,000, waste 4 years of your life and go to audio engineering school, and then we can argue about why you don't touch the master bus. But for now, just take my word for it. Okay, just take my fucking word for it. Trust me, it's gonna save you a lot of trouble. The filter bypass bus is just that. If you have a sound that is being filtered that you don't want it to be filtered, you just send it to the filter bypass. Now let me show you guys how to set this up. So in Studio One, when you open up your track, you're going to get this screen right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and press X to bring up the mixer, and the mixer is very easy to use to create tracks in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to add effects. I'm going to go to add bus channel, and I'm going to click that 5 times so I can make my buses. And I'm going to double click down here. I'm going to write drum. The next one I'm going to label band. I'm pressing tab to move over. The next one I'm going to label filter. The next one I'm going to label filter bypass. Okay, the next one I'm going to label mix bus. All right, boom. Now that I have that set up, I'm going to go ahead and just add some colors. That way everything isn't the same color, and that's important. You want to make sure that all of your things, you utilize the colors, because it's going to make everything easily, like it's an easy visual cue, and you're not going to get confused once this thing has 20-30 tracks in it. Now I'm going to make my effects channels, and all you got to do that is right click, and then you're going to go add effects channel, and this is where we're going to put this is where we're going to have plate, hall, ping pong, and echo. So echo is a beat delay plugin I use, and that's usually a halftime echo. Then this one is typically the famous 8th note ping pong delay from Nexus. And then hall, I just put a room reverb there and a room reverb here. Now that we've got that all set up, we can go ahead and do the routing. Remember this guy right here, and you could pause this video, be smart, pause the video, look at it, digest this information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send these buses right here, drum, band, plate, hall, ping pong, and echo. I'm going to send them to the filter, and then I'm going to send the filter to the mix bus. So the way that you do that is up here. You see right now, this is where all these channels are routed to. They're all routed to this main right here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all the tracks that I want to send to the filter bus. I'm going to click on this one first, hold down shift, click. You see how all those are highlighted? Then I'll just go ahead and send it to the filter. Boom. Now you see how this this blue light kind of pops up here. That's indicating that this filter bus is receiving tracks from, or receiving signal from, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different tracks right there. So that's the significance of this bar right here. Now I'm going to send my filter bus to my mix bus. See how that added a blue line? And I'm going to send my filter to my mix bus, just like we have it again. Oh shit. Just like we have it again in this picture here. All right, good stuff. Now that is, you're all set up now. Once you have this set up, you can go ahead and start adding your instruments. Like I use sample 1 to do my drums in, so I'll go ahead and put in 5 different sample 1s, kick, snare, hi-hat, open hi-hat, whatever. And I like my drums to be red, so I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll go ahead and send those to the drum bus. Boom, that's done. Drop in a couple omnispheres for my and Nexus for my main VSTs. Okay, and then highlight those, and I like to make those like a blue color, so I know the difference between my drum instruments and my regular VSTs, and I'll go ahead and send those to the band bus. Now when I go across my mixer, I know, like, okay, here, let me make these green. You can kind of see, like, okay, these green over here, these are my effects, this is my drums. So I know if there's something too loud in the drums, I know to look over to the reds. If something's bothering me in the instruments, I know to look at the blues. And that's how this mixer starts to get populated, and that's how the routing takes place. So now if, say, I didn't have all this stuff, and oh, real quick, when you get your routing done, I should have mentioned this before, go to File, Save as Template, label it and save it as a template. Then when you click Create New Song, just select this template, and this routing will always be here, so that you don't have to redo this over and over again. Because if you had to redo this routing, it would take you 20 minutes per beat, and that's another 20 minutes that you could be working on the next beat. You gotta learn how to make templates and maximize your time. So if I didn't have all this stuff right here, and I did it the way that you work inside FL Studio, which is you just start dragging samples onto a step sequencer, and you just start sending this audio to a piano roll, instantly I am at a disadvantage as far as making this mix sound better, because it puts me into thinking where I'm like, oh, if I want a reverb, I got to put a reverb on this specific channel, and I got to put a reverb on this channel. And I gotta put a different reverb here and a different reverb here. So that's how you get those kind of cloudy mixes, and you don't have a it's why nobody mixes in FL Studio. Nobody who gets paid to mix, because that their workflow and their signal flow is very awky, as far as coming out with a solidly mixed product. You absolutely can do it. FL Studio has buses and sends and everything else that other DAWs have. It's just the way that it's set up. It doesn't make it the forefront. So the purpose of this video and the purpose of moving to a program like Studio One is to start to be more thoughtful and more focused on the final product, and not just the experience of making the beat. So this is Concrete Zebra with Craftmaster Productions, Studio1tutorials.com. Keep it simple, don't be basic. If you want to see more beat making tutorials in Studio One and you don't want to wait for my next one on this channel, go to Craftmaster Productions on YouTube and check out one of my 80-90 videos. Keep it simple, don't be basic. We'll see you.